Mobile Tech RX, the app that helps you make more money.
Don't forget to grab your Magnatech mat, available at most PDR tool distributors.
Welcome to another episode of PDR Tool Time. This is episode 249. I'm your host, Daniel Grom, along with Vince D'Alessandro, John Renstrom, and Hudson Tanzi. The whole gang's here, and we have our special guest, David White, which we talked to last week, and we wanted to bring him back on. So we're excited. Welcome, David. How is everybody? How was everybody's week? Prosperous?
Busy.
Good.
There's a little bit of
Yeah.
Taking it easy, man. Taking it easy.
Yeah.
The day after, it was one of those things. Like I got to go out of town for Thanksgiving. I'm going to come back in, and then I'm going out of town the next weekend to go to the Anson thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to plan too much because I know I'm going to be all tripped up on tryptophan. So I'm just going to take it easy. So I did.
Well, I think everything's going to change because tonight, if you look up at, we're recording on a Tuesday. If you looked up in the sky right now, Saturn and Jupiter are like next to each other, and it hasn't happened since
1906, when the last pandemic.
1200s.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Make it funny.
I think
wow.
dragons and knights and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You ever realize like how like self-centered that is? Like, all this hasn't happened in this many years. It's like, whatever. They're always in the same place anyways. They're always at the same distance from the sun. Who cares?
So that's back when like dragons were still around, right?
Yeah.
Daniel would know.
Just making sure.
Okay. So, gentlemen, we have David White on. Sorry, John. I started talking right when you did.
Yeah, I was going to say Daniel's not that old. That would be more of his grandfather's age.
Oh, okay. Yes. Very true. Very, very, very true. So we've got David White on here. David White. You come from what? New Braunfels? Is that what you said?
No, I just lived there. I was a short stint there.
Oh, how long did you live in New Braunfels?
2 years.
2 years? Why were you there?
Auction manager for Dent Wizard.
Holy moly.
So let's give you a little history of David. So David's is an independent dent tech who was for years deep undercover working for Dent Wizard, pretending to be a Dent Wizard, but he's actually was a independent dent guy. Right, David?
Sounds good.
Gonna get this guy in trouble. No, Dave,
you with the host.
You know what? I never, when you meet Dave, when I first met Dave at Mobile Tech, I never, he didn't act like a regular Dent Wizard guy. I never looked at him as a Dent Wizard guy.
Hey, Daniel, what is that? How is that? Please enlighten me as to what a regular Dent Wizard guy acts like. Okay,
I will tell you. They're a little closed off on tools and possibilities, and just they're not open-minded as other dent techs.
Maybe they're not. Okay, let's okay, look. I've met some Dent Wizard guys and they're great dudes. I wouldn't say they're not open-minded. I would say
change once they leave Dent Wizard, then they make the change. Then they become normal dent techs.
I think it's a little bit like Dent Smart, right? You got Dent Smart guys and you have Dent Wizard guys. When you're part of these larger companies, I can't really say I've never been a part of one, but what I've seen is you kind of have a culture there that you're a part of, and you go with that culture that's a part of that company, right? Dent Smart, Dent Wizard, right? But David can speak more truly onto this, David.
I'll intervene on this.
Thank you.
Realistic of this was up until probably 5 or 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is now. MTE was not viable for Dent Wizard guys because we were the frowned upon. We walked in and everybody was like, "Oh, there's a Dent Wizard guy." The guys that did show up didn't wear a Dent Wizard shirt. We started to break the pattern and break the ice with the culture within, and then slowly guys like myself, Derek Reed, Kyle Violet, it was a handful of us that had reached out beyond to see what the light was on the other side. And that was really how the culture started to change within the company, because we were starting to take the independent guys and saying, "Hey, these guys are better than we are because they got better tools than we do, where we used to have that leg up. I mean, Vince can acknowledge that, the tools that we had back in the days, they were kind of like, they were the right stuff because you could bend them and shape them and form them and they would hold them. Lito's tools were killer 20 years ago, not today.
Right.
And as that change came, the Illuminate light showed up, right? So that was the big game changer. And not to take anything from Carl Stuckey, because I believe he had the first battery-powered light, but it was the James Lee that became more mainstream and open. And we brought that to corporate and said, hey, we need this. And they went, okay. We're like, wait a minute, okay. So that started the ball rolling. And I'm like, we had a first summit meeting with corporate where we brought that to the table. And I said, they got this thing called MTE. We should do this there and see what the latest and greatest is and see what everybody is talking about and then see if we can fit that into our platform. And they went, okay. Wait, what? How easy was that? Why didn't we do this 20 years ago? But so that was the involvement of us, them getting into, I got to get rid of the us, 23 years of us, of Dent Wizard getting into MTE. And that's why you saw that growing pattern over the last, 5, 6, 7 years of more guys. And you saw the polo shirts popping up everywhere. And everybody's like, holy crap, there's a lot of, I think the first PDR Tool Time show I did with you guys was after the big showing. And Mike Toledo and Hiley were both like, dude, there was a lot of Dent Wizard guys there. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But all it was opening up the door, getting people to say, hey, it's okay to talk to that guy. Doesn't matter what name's on his shirt.
I want to pat you on the back for that. I mean, you were kind of the leader in all that, it seemed like. Were you?
I would say a combination of probably Derek Reed and myself.
Yeah. Derek's a great guy.
Derek was really tight with Shane Jacks, right? And Keith Constantino, and he used to do the editing, I guess, for their podcast, PDR College, for quite some time. So he already had that relationship going with guys. My intro was really to Daniel Grom when I would call him, man, I must have called you 6 or 7 times before I bit the bullet and bought the motorcycle kit.
Yeah.
But that was like, I got that interaction and I got that exchange with you that was comforting. It wasn't fucking Dent Wizard guy wants to buy this tank stuff. Like, fuck that guy. I didn't get that. And that was cool because there was a part of me that assumed that was coming, right? You just assume that the independent guy hates me because that's all you've ever heard is the independent guys hate the Wizards. And you get on Facebook on Friday night and you can watch the beers go down and the bashing begin. And you just be like, oh, Friday night bash Wizard night.
On the flip side of that, David, there's been tons and probably more people that have worked for Dent Wizard independently coming in and doing, obviously not route work, but coming in and doing their hail teams and catastrophe teams throughout the years. Tons of technicians. And Absolutely. None of those guys are on Facebook to say, oh, yeah. Every once in a while you'd see people chime in and say, oh, yeah, I work for the Wiz. I had no problems, doing hail or doing this and doing that. But the one thing that I think you get from working for a big company, whether it's DentSmart or the Wiz or something like that, is that it's kind of like a college frat. You know what I mean? Once you're with them for a while, it's always in you. You know what I mean? It's that corporate mentality is always in you. And you're probably noticing that now that you've left. I know I based my company and the way that I ran my company off of what I learned from Dent Wizard. And that was one of the reasons why I was successful.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
I mean, you can kick all the rocks you want, but they're $1 billion company at this point.
Right. It's a proven business strategy that works.
So let me ask you this. So over the years, we've heard, I don't know the ins and outs, but we've heard Dent Wizards of being sold and being bought by another company. And that has had to change the culture within. Is that true?
I would say the first change was probably when Mannheim Cox bought us originally, which was...
That's when I got ousted.
I was 1 foot out the door, man. I couldn't stand them. The people that took over were not pleasant. After that, that was the initial change, and it didn't change as a technician. It didn't change a whole lot of what you did. It changed the upper management, how they got paid, and with the pressure that they put on. But at the end of the day, I mean, I just push dents. I can't make dents happen more. I just fix what I fix. I get paid based on that. Why? There's nothing I'm going to change. Yeah. After that, I mean, every sale just became a sale. Like, hey, we got bought again. We're now owned by ABC. Now we're owned by, you know.
Well, so throughout that, was there any company that really changed the culture within? Like what you're talking about you were just saying that they were saying yes to things that they didn't say yes to before.
I think it was just a matter of nobody had ever asked.
Oh, okay.
That's all it really came down to, was nobody from the bottom looked up and went, hey, we could do this better, and here's how. There were and there are some great leaders still in that company. One of them was, I'd say, mentored me for years, which was Michael Fedorowicz, who's now one of the VPs. He was a technician, became a part owner of the franchise, and then from there moved to RVP when they were bought out. So, I mean, that's a hell of a transition, right? Here's a guy that used to push dents, and now he's the VP of the company.
Yeah.
Not a bad guy to look up to, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
You know, and he was super supportive. He was the guy that stood behind us when we said, hey, there's better stuff out here. You know, I think I wrote the letter to Terry Kebby at one point, and I'm like, hey, you think we're the leader in paintless dent repair? And I got bad news. We're not. We're getting our ass kicked by everybody else out there because they have all the latest and greatest, and we're still using the stuff from 1989. And that sparked the movement, you know, and you know, Michael was the first one to say, he goes, I got a hammer in the garage, and it was my grandfather's. It's a great hammer, still works, but there's a better hammer out there now.
Yeah.
So,
you know, it's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's called the Grom hammer, by the way.
I like Chad Peters' Endeavor hammers.
Whatever.
So I'll say this.
Grom number 1.
I'll say this. There's one thing that one guy who I got to really have an extended conversation with was Kyle Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I appreciated hearing a Dent Wizard guy who was just happy being a Dent Wizard guy. And I can understand that because I'm 14 years in. I am 11 years on my own independent. And the stress of finding your own accounts, of keeping things going, of whatever, like some days I wish there was just, I clock in and clock out, you know, I just show up, do my job. They give me, I get benefits. I have a 401k. I have health insurance. I have all that stuff. Like I sometimes, you know, like every once in a while, I'm like, man, it would be nice where I could just kind of just check out. Like once I'm like done, I'm freaking done. But as a business owner, I don't have that. It's a constant ongoing thing. I have to figure out what I'm doing with health insurance, all that stuff. And now you're showing, you know, show me this, David. You're showing something on the screen here. I see a calendar that is
anything on it?
That's a paper calendar, which shows that you are old. So help me out here.
Do you see anything written on it?
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Right. I understand your stress level. That's next week.
Yeah.
I don't like that look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, bud, look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm 14 years in. November and December are going to suck for the first couple of years. They just are. Anyone that's listening right now.
23 years.
Yeah. I'm going to let you know. If you're listening right now and you are starting out, November kind of sucks. December picks up a little bit. January picks up a lot. And then February, for some reason, I don't know what it is about February. What?
That's takeoff day.
Well, for me, I don't know what it is about February in Houston, but it's always my lowest performing month. It's always my lowest performing. And we have the Houston rodeo here. And we always just say, oh, it's rodeo season. In the auto business here in Houston, we're like, oh, it's rodeo season. Okay, it's going to have a... But yeah, man, I remember those days, David. But the thing is, you're a freaking quality tech, and you know what you're doing. So next year, I expect that calendar to be filled.
Well,
I also expect that freaking calendar to be digital. You dingus.
I got one of those. I make all my notes on here so I can look at it, phone numbers, directions, addresses. Quick look. It's a quick glance, man.
One of the reasons I brought you on is because you talked to us last week and said, hey, yeah, you made the jump. You left Dent Wizard, and then COVID hit. And we're like, oh, wow. Okay. So we kind of wanted you talking about that and what were the pitfalls and what have you done?
Man.
But before we get to that, I have one question. Can you please help me understand? Because I just went on a little tangent there of like what I would kind of enjoy not being a business owner. What made you want to become a bit where you are now forfeiting the 401k, the insurance, a lot of things that are paid, and just all that? What drove you? Is it just having control, or like what drove you to leave Dent Wizard after 23 years and to go independent?
So this could get a little long-winded, but you can cut me off. For years, you always look at that other side of the fence, right? Mm-hmm. Grass looks pretty green over there. I've got plenty of friends that have either left or have never worked for us, but have been independents and very successful. And you can't help but have that sit in the back of your head and go, man, how much better could I do? So that lingers in the back of your head. I live in Connecticut. Winters tend to suck. And I think about 3 years ago is when I really started bitching that I didn't want to work outside anymore. I kept complaining that I'm like, I don't, I tell my wife, I'm like, I fucking hate winter. I don't even want to go to work. Can I just take 3 months off? You got this, right? And she's, her joke used to be, get a college degree, you could have an inside job like me. And I'm like, man, I don't think you could put me in a cage. I wouldn't be happy there either.
Sorry, David, what does your wife do?
She's an accountant for a big company called Pratt & Whitney, United Technologies. I don't know how far across the country they get, but they build the engines for the airplanes and the military.
So engines. She's super smart. Super smart.
Yeah. You're going to marry, if you're a Dent guy, marry a smart girl. Okay. She's also my bookkeeper.
Fantastic.
So that kind of,
tell everybody what you told me when you came out and visited me, what your wife said.
Afterwards, now she says, she goes, she kind of got a glimpse of what Daniel's shop looked like, and a Dent guy has a shop, makes pretty good money, doing all right, can provide the overhead. Maybe this gig can pay the bills. So
you told me you said that she always looked at it as a hobby.
It's like a hobby, like a gimmick.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to understand though. There's a lot of people that think fixing cars is just a hobby.
Oh man, yeah. I still get texts to this day of like, "Hey, are you still doing the dent thing?"
Yeah, I get that too. Comical. I'm like, yeah, that dent thing's working out all right. You make pretty good money. I do okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just bought a house with this dent thing.
Yeah, it's all good.
Pay the bills.
So the cold thing started really playing into me. There was a Dent Wizard retail shop that I had pushed because the guy that was running it was not the right guy. Didn't give a shit. Didn't actually quote anything. Just would pull a number out of his pocket and throw it at the car and whatever. And most of the time he threw a number either really high so the customer would go away or really low so the technician was looking at him like, nobody even wants to fix it at that point. So I was kind of pushing to get in there, and they did not want me in there. They really kind of told me, they're like, hey, look, it's a lateral move. It's not a good move for you. You're not going to grow there. We really want to see you grow, sales manager, district manager. Sounds all cool, but I can't do it here. I'd have to relocate, and I've got a couple little kids, and my wife obviously has a good job. So this ain't happening. And all her family is here. I did the move once already. I went to Texas for a couple of years. That ended with a divorce.
Best decision of your life. Woo!
You apparently didn't hear the end of that.
No. Sorry, I heard Texas and I got excited.
Let me rephrase this to you. Here's the George Strait song you might get. all my exes live in Texas. So that's how that ended. And I came back home an independent, and it lasted about 6 weeks. So, but, so the move kind of was just more or less like, I'm not going to relocate. I can't grow. What's my next option? And my wife actually looked at me and she said, maybe it's time to leave. And I was blown away. And the only thing I could think of was after visiting Daniel and Ian Cordell, seeing two independent guys, you know.
What month was this?
Which part?
When she says maybe it's time to leave.
That was November of last year.
Well, okay. Daniel's always busy, so that's a bad judgment. Like if you go there right now, he's still busy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if he doesn't have winter.
They don't have any
winter, exactly.
No, he doesn't have any competition. I mean, he's too cool.
Sure. We'd like you go to a shop in St. Louis right now or Chicago. You know, call up Peter. He's got a shop now. Not Peter. Ray Satmu. Call him up and see how his shop is doing right now.
Hey, let's not ruin a good thing, all right?
No.
Don't ruin a good thing. So that was like November.
Well, I my hat's off to you, David, because you probably picked the lowest possible time in the history of mankind to go independent. So it can only be up from here, really.
Well, you know, I pulled the plug in February, and then I gave him like a 3 or 4 week window of like, hey, prep yourself, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
They were okay with it. That was cool. About 2 weeks in, I'm like, one more week. And COVID just pulled the rug right out from underneath us. And I was like, what the hell? So
I was going to ask, did you guys almost reconsider with COVID hitting?
So, well, I mean, of course it freaks my wife out. But I mean, one way, shape or form, right? I'm not working. Dent Wizard furloughed and laid off so many people. I get the phone call from my current DM and he's just like, hey, look, I don't know where this is going to go. Why don't you ride this out a little bit with us until it all gets figured out?
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, you go. But looking out for me. You can't be more appreciative than that, right? I mean, I turned in my resignation and they're like, hey, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
So there was some hail that opened up in Ohio. They called me up like, hey, you want to go do some hail? I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing shit here. So I went and did hail. I came back. Everything was still real quiet. They put me on a guarantee. Rode the guarantee for a little bit. And then the Enterprise cars. Everybody knows about the Enterprise hail cars.
Yep.
So that shit hit in Atlanta. Those cars got moved all over the place. Connecticut got about, 1,000 of them. And I was ready again, where I was like, hey, I've had enough. I got to go. And I'm talking to independent guys that are like, I'm killing it because everybody's home. They're getting this extra money. Nobody's got scheduling is easy. All I got to do is drive to their house. They're home all day. Doesn't matter when I get there. I'm like, I got to go. Like now I'm getting the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like I'm losing money sitting here. But the Enterprise deal came in and my DM regimen had changed. My DM had retired. My old SM became the DM. He was still trying to find ways to hold on to me.
Hey, David, just for us non-Dent Wizard people, SM.
What's the SM? I got DM, district manager.
SM, sales manager.
Okay.
So the next level down. So my immediate manager would be a sales manager. Then
I didn't know if it was manager. Dick Man and Sexy Man. Honestly,
no. I don't have you and Vince in my category, and you guys can figure out who too.
Nailed it.
So then the Enterprise stuff hit, and he's like, "Dude, I lost Roy to Georgia, and I'm losing you." He goes, "You guys are my two hail guys. Can you please stay and help me with the Enterprise stuff?" And I was like, "Fine, I'll help."
And weren't they like severely underbid too?
Dude, they were so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how they came to the arrangement. I don't know what the arrangement was. All I know is they were hammered. They came to us. Enterprise said, look, we're just looking for a betterment. I'm like, we can do that. We can make betterment. So we did what we could, and we moved as many cars as we could. And I think that lasted about 3 weeks. And on the third week, I was like, I can't, I got to go. And
I think
so
that's where Dent Wizard. Sorry, David.
Yeah,
I got to interject here. I think that's where Dent Wizard gets a lot of its bad name now. Of just that kind of stuff. Where it's like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. Like they see this big dollar signs, and then they put it on the backs of guys like you working for like pennies.
Well,
when
and they just about it. Yeah. Think about that current situation though, right? Enterprise deal happens in the middle of COVID. You have 70% of your workforce sitting on a couch.
Yeah, you're grateful to get it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there was a lot of guys that came out to work just to have work, just to not be sitting at home. Even at underbid is what they were, you were going to make more money than sitting at home and having the government feed you.
Yeah, with that,
I agree, but that's still taking advantage of people, of hungry techs that deserve to be paid more.
Didn't have to do it.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. You're right. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I still feel like that's taking advantage of a bunch of really, really like.
Okay, so
that's almost like dangling a carrot in front of a horse, kind of thing.
So flip it.
Mm-hmm.
That Wizard didn't have to give anybody guarantees, and we're sitting at home on a couch, healthcare, 401k, and a paycheck still rolling in.
100% agree. You know what? So I'm gonna retract what I said. You're absolutely right. Thank you.
A lot of guys don't see that. And it's okay. Yes. And that's, I have no hard feelings against the company. That's the greatest part about my leaving. I didn't leave because I was mad at anybody. I didn't leave because I had a falling out. I didn't leave because management did me wrong. They wanted to see me grow. They wanted to see me move up. I just didn't align with what they had going on and how it was going to happen. It didn't work for me. So I took the opportunity to say, I already moved once and I saw how that ended, right? So I'm not going to move again and put my relationship and my wife and everything else at risk.
Right.
Especially when I'm the low bidder in the house. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, my wife wears the pants. She calls the shots. It's the end of the story. I don't even care. So it was just easier. I said, this is my time. I'm going to go. And I left and I did my best to leave on the best of terms. Again, stayed the extra time, helped with the enterprise cars to build that. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. I've left on terms where my sales manager's like, hey, if we get, one of them just called me up the other day and they're like, hey, I got a motorcycle tank and we don't have a guy to do that. Can I give him your number? Yes, you can.
You had absolutely no reason to burn any bridge.
No,
with anybody within the company.
Nope. I love everybody there. It is my second family. It was hard as hell to pull the trigger. I mean, I literally videotaped, or I was FaceTiming somebody because I had my resignation letter all sent up and it was in the email format. And I'm sitting there trying to hit the send button, and I just literally couldn't hit the send button for like 15 minutes. I'm like, once I hit send, it's over. It hurt.
Then it became real.
It was very real. I laid in bed for 3 days with anxiety and stress, and my stomach all knotted up. So for the guys that think that was an easy move for me, it was not.
Yeah.
Well, you don't change 23 years.
Now, where are you at mentally? Where are you at? Like, are you doing good?
I am doing good. Yes. I'd like to be busier, but
optimistic
to it. Yes. Well, I understand the business, right? I've done hail. I've done a retail shop. I've done route. I've managed. I've got a pretty good knowledge of the industry. I've made a lot of networking connections. Push came to shove. I even said it this year. I'm like, push comes to shove, and I'm not busy, and I got friends with hail. I can go do hail.
Yeah.
So a little bit of, I've got some plan Bs, I guess you could say. I know winter sucks. Winter's always sucked here. I don't want to be out in the cold. I laughed last week when you guys called me up and you're like, yeah, we'll call you for cold weather tips. I'm like, cold weather tip, find a garage inside. That's my current cold weather tip. I'm not planning on standing outside in 20-degree weather. I've got 3 shops that allow me space anytime I want. Book a car there. They don't care. So I will utilize that all winter.
Are you planning on opening a retail shop?
Great question that keeps coming back around. I would say at this time, not on my plate, because I don't really want the overhead. I don't want to be strapped to the building. Talking to Grom the other night, there is the upside, but the upside is you got to own the building. So if you own
the upside is not call Grom, call someone else.
Well,
Wow.
listen, Grom makes a very valid point. If you own the building, when it's time to get out, you got rent coming back.
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole reason you get into retail is that you have an exit strategy. And honestly, I don't think you can do an exit strategy without buying the property and buying it smartly, buying good commercial property. And
You got to have something tangible.
Yeah. Well, so this what you're saying right now, people think we're a bunch of gay boys for MTE, like we just love it. Like we just go crazy for it. And it's not because like we're obsessed with MTE. It's because we see how beneficial it is for the industry. And I think you're proof of that, David, because when you come to MTE, you just said you have a plan B. And I think that plan B would be Hale, correct?
Hale, yep.
Yeah, and you would probably made those connections through the people you met at MTE.
Right.
Yeah. So this is why we harp on MTE so much.
Here's a basic rundown, and you have an endless supply of individuals at MTE, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them pretty quality guys, most of them pretty successful guys. And then you have your standout crowd. So your standout crowd, you guys, everybody knows who you are.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that.
Wait, I forgot you were here.
Yeah.
Because it used to be Toledo. You go there, you get the Dave Streams, right? Marketing king of the world. The guy is marketing to hardware stores. Like he's trying to develop products that will cross PDR to hardware.
Yeah.
But there's just endless supplies of these guys that I don't want to say endless supplies, but I mean, there's so many of these guys in there. I've made friends with so many people that it makes it comfortable to pick up the phone and be like, Stream, I need some advice. Do you do this or do you do this?
Yeah.
I got a motorcycle tank issue. I can call Daniel Grom. I want to Photoshop something or do a photo shoot. I'm probably calling Toledo. Of course, he doesn't answer me very often. I don't know how to take that yet.
You have to call him on. Yeah. It's a special calling technique.
Yeah.
Call him once, text him, and then call him back.
Well, and like you said, the networking that you make at MTE, Danny Espinal, he's in your area. There's a whole bunch of people that, they know that you're on your own and independent, and they're going to reach out to you because you've known them and created relationships throughout the years with, what would have been considered competition. They're not competition. They're friends.
No, So the funny part with Danny, and there's a little story behind Danny and I that not very many people will ever know about. Hiley came close because he was trying to get us to fight at the first MTE because he was walking around with his camera and he goes, "You're on your lot and you're walking the lot and you see the competitor. What do you do?"
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I usually go, "Hi, Danny."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh." And he says something to Danny, and he goes, Danny responds, he goes, "I go over and I introduce myself and see how he's doing and find out where he's from and blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "And it's usually Dave White." And, so Danny's older brother is Andre. Andre is a dent wizard, was a dent wizard, is a dent wizard. I don't know where he's at anymore. He's been back and forth so many times. It's like watching Bad Housewives. So Andre and I worked together back in 97 when I was hired. I actually trained a little bit with Andre, and then my job was to go down there and relieve him a little bit of some of the work because he covered such a broad area. Back in 97, guys used to cover like 100 square miles. I mean, it was huge. So I know Andre pretty well. Well, I didn't know Danny D. Dents was his younger brother. And of course, Dent Wizard, independent. I go into a dealership. I find out he's there. I'm like, oh, I'm going to crush this guy. I'm going to put him out of business. I'm going to make sure he's got no work and, and all this shit. And then I find out he's Andre's brother. And I'm like, I don't really want to put him out of business. I just want him out of my lots. I still don't like him. And then little by little, we just, we formed a bond. We became friends.
It's hard not to like Danny.
It is. It is. He's a really good dude. We started to connect and just be like, hey, there's plenty of work out here for both of us. Neither one of us are going to starve. Neither one of us is, we both have enough work. So it really became a non-issue. And now he's Southern Connecticut. I'm more Northeast Connecticut. And he'll call me up like, I got a guy in Avon. You want it? Yeah. I call him up like, hey, I got a guy down in Southbury. You want it? Yeah. Mike Ziamba's another one. He's Northwest.
That's brotherhood, man.
Well, that's, smart business, because the customer really appreciates the honesty and the referral. Because if the customer calls Danny and says, hey, I got this car, I'm in Farmington. Danny goes, man, I don't travel that far, but I got a guy for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that customer trusted Danny because he read the reviews or went on his website. So if Danny's saying he's got a guy that can send to him, that's a golden ticket.
Exactly. And I'll back that up with, when I was out for Thanksgiving, I was out a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And I let all my customers know, like, hey, I am gone. I will not be available this week. They're okay with it. If an absolute necessary emergency arrives, I do have a guy available for you. And I have a guy, and his name's Steve Cruz in Houston with Ding Lifters.
Just did it again, babe.
What? Vince, you're talking. I can hear you.
Don't call me babe on TV.
Yeah, we just did it again, babe.
I'm sorry, sweetie. I was doing my best.
So,
and Steve, some technical difficulties this evening.
Yeah, and so with Steve is always there. Like, I call him before. I'm like, hey man, are you okay if I'm about to go out of town? Are you okay if you're my emergency contact? Like, if something comes up, like, you can take care of it, you or one of your guys. And he's always like, yeah, absolutely, we'll take care of you. And he's technically my competitor, but we respect each other. We're friends. Like, I've broken bread with this man.
Every guy needs that.
Yeah. And so, like, he's just far enough, like he services, just far enough away. And I send so much freaking work to this dude. Like, people in his area call me all the time, I guess, because my SEO or something. And I'll be like, hey, actually, you're outside of my service area. I'd love to send you to another very qualified tech who's just as good as I am and has actually more experience. Here's his number. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. And they love it. And but also Steve knows that, I'm like, hey, dude, I sent you another one today, just FYI. And so when the time comes that I need someone to cover for me, Steve is right there. And so he's always there. So shout out to Steve Cruz and all that he does to help me out in these times.
Hudson, what is your primary mobile retail?
So yeah, most of my days, I would say, you have 5 days a week. So 3 out of the 5 days a week, I am mobile retail. But I also do body shops. I do it all. Like, there's not a single.
You have a dealership, like dealer route that you run?
Yes, or, okay. I only service high-end dealerships. So Mercedes-Benz and up, I guess. It's not that I'm like, it's just. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, oh, I'm fancy. It's not that. So, guys, I was full on retail. I was full on mobile retail and body shops, and that was it. But I guess, the word through the grapevine spread. And one day I got a call from Porsche, and Porsche was like, hey, we're having issues. We need someone to help us. And there's a dent that can't be fixed. Can you help us? And your name has been given to us. I'm like, yeah, I'll show up. And I went and I fixed a dent that their dent guy couldn't fix at the time. And I was like, okay. And they were like, hey, would you be willing to come do this on a weekly basis for us? I'm like, yes, here's what it would cost. And they're like, yeah, we can make that happen. So they agreed to my prices and we went near that happen. The same exact thing happened with a Mercedes account where some dent guy on a Friday when the car was being delivered was like, I gotta go to home. Literally, they were like, I gotta go to Home Depot to get this special tool to fix this. Like, no dent guy goes to Home Depot to get a special tool, unless you're Sal Contreras. But besides that,
You gotta go there to buy a drill bit.
yeah. And so he left and he never came back. So 6 o'clock on a Friday night, I get a call from a Mercedes-Benz dealership saying, hey, we have a car that needs to go. Your name has been given to us as a highly, like, you can do whatever, you can fix things that other guys can't. I'm like, well, I won't say that, but if someone else says it, cool, that's great. Do you need help? And they're like, yes. My wife, being a very understanding wife, was like, go do what you got to do. So I showed up, did it, fixed it. And ever since then, I've been servicing that Mercedes dealership. So I never went out looking. What?
It's, by the way, it's double time and emergency service, which is right. I'm a woodworker. I need custom cabinets.
So I never went out looking for route, for like a dealership, but that's just, it ended up where they called me. And so now I've become someone who did that. Shut up, Daniel. Daniel's giving me hand signs.
Shops now. I thought he was acting for never mind.
So so where are you at right now as far as work, Dave?
I am straight mobile retail with a few body shops. That's it.
So you have a website?
Yeah, ctdentworks.com. WORX.
Now you staying
different. I've been busy right up until about the week before election. After election, it became kind of a little bit of a roller coaster. I would say before election, I was scheduling out a week and a half. Now I'm trying to fill the week that I'm in.
Yeah, same here. As soon as the election happened, it was like it dropped off like a rock.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, listen, I'm rolling into wintertime. For me, I call it from Turkey to February is usually your downtime. Rarely do we have winters where you're like, hey, you keep it full tilt. But I mean, I was also working for the Wiz and I had dealerships. So I mean, if the weather was good, the dealers were selling cars and you had volume that kept coming. Now I'm at the mercy of how well I market myself and the phone ringing and the few body shops that I have handing my card out or calling me for their own stuff.
Now, if it's any consolation, Dave, I've talked to quite a few people throughout the country, and at Anson, I talked to a lot of people that come in and out from all over the country. And the vast majority of technicians out there have had a great year, and not just Hale, but like even the wholesale guys. Because what everyone seems to be saying is that new cars, and like used cars are on the rise, the sale of used cars, and the managers are spending the money fixing up the used cars because the new cars aren't selling.
Yep.
So, maybe it's going to be one of those things that just requires more, feet on the ground type of thing, boots on the ground, getting out there. It's a hard thing to do in the wintertime.
It is, but I can't beat the doors in the dealership, right? I'm under a no compete contract and I am not putting any matches to that bridge.
Yeah. How long does that go for?
2 years. So I got a year and a half to go.
I know a way out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, stop that.
I'm not. Listen,
we're not talking about that. All right.
The old saying, do the crime, do the time. Well,
yeah,
I'll do my time. I will. I'll play the rules. I don't want to step on anybody's shit. So
yeah, they gave you 23 years of a livelihood. It's okay to be respectful of that 2 years. I get that. I appreciate that, David.
Yep. So, and it's, I had, my expectations were pretty low coming out the gate, and I hit some highs that I thought were unobtainable for a while. So I know the market's here. I know the money's there. I know I'm capable. Right now I just got to wait out the winter and then come out in spring and just be 100% full tilt running and I'm going to take the winter to learn my marketing, and I'm going to learn how to play the social media game a little bit better and more ways to spend my money in ads.
So let me ask you this: what, being moved over to this side of the fence, what is the greener grass? What have you been happy that you made the move? What is the green grass?
So for me, the green grass is something I've been missing for a long time. And that is seeing the customer get the end result and seeing their reaction and seeing that you made somebody's day, right?
Yeah.
Dealer route, that used car manager, how fast, how cheap. They don't care about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Did you save me? Cool. You did your job. You're like, they don't even walk out to look at the car. They don't know what it looked like before. They don't know what it looked like after. They just look at you. How's it look? It looks good to me. All right. Thanks.
There really is nothing in comparison when you do something for a customer and then they just like go crazy being ecstatic about the repair that you just did.
Right.
And there's
not our job.
Yeah. And it's like, you're trying to play it cool. It's like all of the day's work, man. But ultimately you're like, I know it still blows me away. Yeah.
There's this going on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that. There's, I listen to some guys do their normal bitch and moan. I still get phone calls from Dent Wizard techs seeking advice. I gladly take those calls forever. I don't care because to me, it's not a Dent Wizard tech. It's just a guy that's struggling through the day that needs a little help. I had a Dent Wizard guy call me the other day. He was struggling with a door, and I'm like, dude, where are you? He wasn't but 5 minutes from me. I was going to drive right by him. So I pulled in to make sure he's all right. Nice. I don't, I'm not spiteful. I like these guys. I trained most of them. So there's a lot of like little brotherhood to me, guys call me up and go, hey, what tool would you use on this? Well, I would use this. Hey, what's the latest and greatest? Well, check this out. Hey, how do I get on this? Well, do you have one of these? Yeah, we'll use that. Okay. Little stuff, but it's the little stuff that I think allowed me to rise within the company. And then more so like the greener grass, I don't have to deal with those phone calls. I'm not getting the 6 o'clock used car manager on a Friday that, we sold this car on Monday. We're delivering it now and nobody's looked at it in between and we're idiots. Please come save us without any real gratitude. And they don't want to pay more than $75.
Now let me ask you this, Dave. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
John, you're up.
Yeah, I will say about the grass is greener. Just be careful because sometimes it's only greener because it's covered in a layer of shit.
It comes with its own difficulties.
That's fertilizer.
So for 23 years, I've had this side, right?
Yeah.
For the next 10, I'll have this side.
It
is
finding the rest
different.
of it.
It is the same, but it's different. And I think it's the different that I needed to change it up a little bit, to keep it a little spicy, if you would, to like, I'm reinvigorated in it, right? Things that I couldn't do before. So as a route tech, where Hudson, kind of says, come save the day because I'm going to fix it and the other guy couldn't. A lot of times you can't because you don't have the time. You don't have the time and the customer's not going to pay me, which is really weird, right? Because I'm the normal guy. I'm going to come in, I'm day in and day out, and I'm saving your ass weekly. And then you buy something that's fucked up or it gets lot damaged. And you're like, hey, look, I can fix it, but it's going to cost you X. And they go, what are you, crazy? Well, then I'm not fixing it. Or you just do what you normally do, right? You kind of fix it. You give them their $100 worth and you beat feet. And that's where the independent guy goes, well, geez, look what they did to this. I always say you don't know the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what the circumstances were when you're looking at previous PDR. I always hate the befores, look what this guy left behind. Chances are you were dealing with a dickhead used car manager that wanted to give you $35 to fix a $200 dent. I'm going to give you your $35 worth. There's going to be a half-inch hole in the door jamb, and I don't care. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. Hey, I'd ask Vince, but I don't think his headset works. What's the number one tool for that answer? Plugs.
No, my headset.
we just got 2 rigs in back to back where they'd had paint work, and they hard lined within the panel on the paint work. One of them was on all the way down the body line on a Hyundai quarter panel. Not kidding. Hard lined on the body line in the middle of the quarter panel. It looked like a
pinstripe goes. Don't you know?
Hey, explain to us dummies what a. I think some guys might not know what a hard line is, John.
Oh, come on! And you should get out of the business.
Right?
Shut up,
Yeah,
Daniel.
that's where they mask it. It's where they mask it off, and the paint goes right up to the masking tape and is cut by the masking tape. And they hardlined across the rail on a minivan.
Hudson's write-up sheet say right front quarter and left rear fender.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, David. What's your wife's opinion of your move now? If you asked her right now, what would she say?
So the feedback I got when she went out to dinner with her girlfriends and they said, "How's he doing?" Her response was, "Should have did this sooner."
Oh, good.
All right, good.
It wasn't. I hope he gets a real job soon.
Well,
So
that's never going to happen anyway.
Sex is better in the bedroom, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Daniel, my hearing is going.
Yeah, my dad up until I think I was probably 20 years in before my dad acknowledged that I had a real job.
Yeah, I like that story. He was like, "Girl, you're doing pretty good at this, huh?"
I was like, with his thick Italian accent. Hey, when you get a real job, what do you mean, Dad? I mean, like 4 times as much as you did your whole lifetime, every year.
And then I'd have to do the stick 'em up move.
Right, exactly. But David, your wife is European as well, so maybe it's a European thing because European people, my dad was from Italy. He didn't acknowledge dents in cars. They didn't give a crap about that stuff. They just wanted something that moved.
Let me tell you right now, in the real world, my wife is not my customer.
You're right. I'm not a customer.
Not happening.
So you're the ding guy that your wife's driving around a car that has dings up and down it.
Yeah, my wife. They can't hear you, David. It's a podcast.
I know. I'm leaving it that way. She happened to watch the last one I did with Ryan shoot, so I was like, "I love you, baby."
Yeah.
Your wife is golden, dude. I met your wife and she's golden.
She had fun. She had a little, it was obviously, going to California for my birthday. And we got to see dent guys, really. But she had a good time. So she very much enjoyed
every good guy, if you don't have a good woman behind you, you're not going to have success.
Did you say success or sex?
Did you say success?
Sex.
I heard sex.
I think I did say that.
Oh, Daniel needs some.
There may not have been a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
All right, David. Now, we've discussed MTE. Are you going MTE 2021?
No, sir.
Okay.
You're afraid of the vid?
Well, you guys
too many
probably
variables.
Travel restrictions about like the rest of the country is going to by that time.
Yeah, no, we've got travel restrictions now. I mean, my state is back to stage 2. Restaurants have to be closed by a certain time. We're down to back to 50% capacity or something like that. No more than 10 people in a gathering. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we're at DEFCON 5 here in California.
Yeah, well, you're California. I mean, it's amazing though, right? We're worried about the vid and people are shitting and shooting up on the streets.
Yeah, but honestly, let's take a time right now to it is a serious thing, for a lot of people. A man that we respect highly in this industry, who's the president of the NAPDRT, lost his father this week.
Yeah,
Mike Wall. So, Mike, we just want you to know that we appreciate all you do, and we're sorry for what you're going through. We just want to send prayers to you. And I know there's several other prominent people in our industry that have had family members pass from this. So it's not, all sunshine and rainbows. Like a lot of us like to pretend like it isn't this big, huge, scary thing. And it's not as bad, but does have consequences, and we've had people lose actual family members from this pandemic. So if someone chooses not to go to MTE 2021, I don't think that's something that we should, hold against them, because you don't know if they lost a family member. And it's something
I got to be honest with you. I'm not in fear. That's why it's not why I'm not going. It's more of, I just think there'll be a better time for it later. I think there's going to be a lot of people missed. I think there's going to be some vendors missed. I think in some sense, if you go, it'll be a little bit like Vegas was last year. It'll be smaller, more condensed. It'll be great for the guys that go, because it'll be easier to get around and talk to people and hang out and have those conversations. I don't think
Vegas
it's going to be.
Was actually really, really good.
Dude, Vegas was phenomenal because you could interact without 35 people standing over the top of you. If you wanted to talk to Chris White or Gene Fetty at Kiko, you weren't 5 levels deep. If you wanted to see Stanliner, you weren't 5 levels deep. It was nice. Quite honestly, I would skip Orlando and hope. I'm hoping for Vegas to happen. I'm hoping for everything to be better by then.
Yeah.
And I would quite honestly visit going to Vegas.
Yeah. I can see that. I can understand that. Absolutely.
Well, before Vegas even happens, there'll be the big open house at Anson 2.0, and probably.
Yeah, you guys always seem to do that the week I'm on vacation, because it's the same week the kids are out of school and we blow out of Dodge.
No, it's not going to be around Easter this time. It's because we've been doing it on Easter last two, which it's just happened to fall that way. But this year will not be on Easter.
So we're talking April.
You guys don't have a date already, do you?
April Fools.
No. We're not putting anything in place. However, what I will tell you is, by the time this podcast is airing on Tuesday, the new website will be up at Anson.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So everyone.
I miss
what's
my
different?
Family. I'm going to miss the Anson reunion at MTE.
Yeah, we're going regardless. If it's happening,
I know.
either. So,
but you're hopeful to do an open house at the new venue around April 1st is what you're thinking, maybe?
It's probably somewhere around April. Yeah, it's shooting for April at this point. We're shooting for our CO at the end of January or early February. And we'll be moving in at that point. We cannot move in not even one whole plug until we get the certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
So,
and that involves the city, and that's an unknown.
Yeah. I mean, we have walls up. We have everything. The interior's framed out. At this point, we're going to go boom, 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 and it's going to be done. So we even have plants and trees out in front at this point.
Vinny, what's the most common plug sold? Is it quarter, 3/8? Half inch?
I'd say 1/2 inch and 3/8. Lots of those. There's some odd sizes that we do sell that I'm hoping to get rid of.
7/16.
Yeah.
5/8.
No, dude. No, dude, you don't understand. They're viable plugs, man. You drill that 3/8 and you round that thing out a little bit, and the plug don't stay in. You're like, well, go one more.
One more.
I don't want to go to.
They really make a 7/16 plug?
I want rubber plugs instead of vinyl plugs.
We don't make anything, Daniel.
I know, but
we know.
Nobody makes. I've searched for rubber plugs.
Yes.
And, Worth has some rubber plugs that
You
I
should
bought.
buy them from Worth then.
I do.
Okay.
Have you tried calling Zbart, however you pronounce their
Plastic.
And they only call me 5/8.
Now, all the rubber plugs are made in England for some reason. What I found out.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how certain things are made in certain places.
Yeah, they're made in England.
Yeah.
Because they have the supply.
Yeah,
Of trees?
that's weird.
I thought
Complete side note, there is a great podcast called American Innovations. They talk about the innovation of rubber, and it is incredibly informative as to how rubber comes about. It's really weird and strange. I told you it was a complete side note. All right. If you like podcasts and you're listening to this podcast and you want to listen to a podcast after this, maybe you should look up American Innovation and listen to Rubber.
I'm not sure how I feel about you listening to a podcast about rubber. I mean, I can't say.
Hey, I got 3 kids. I rely on the rubber.
Are you making a rubber wedge?
A rubber wedge? If it's slippery enough.
Just get that thing cut.
All right. I think
and on that note,
end here to our wonderful podcast. So, do we have any closing thoughts?
Mr. White, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing what is probably the largest decision a family could ever make.
And I wish you the best of luck, David. Honestly, I had to do it without any notice back in 2000. So, and at that time I had bought a house and became a family, married a girl with a child and had to do it from the ground up. So, you got some good head start and many different things. I think you'll be just fine. It's just, doing it, making it happen.
And David, I just want you to know, I hate that you came on this podcast and I hope you fail miserably.
Appreciate that.
Sorry. Everyone's being way too positive. I got to even it out here. Yeah.
It's all right. Someday you'll grow up too.
Should I kick
Hudson? I know, never. Never.
Ben, should I kick Hudson off now?
Oh, I meant like grow up. I didn't mean like mature. I just meant grow up.
Oh, man. I'm not tall because my balls are so heavy. They weigh me down.
Oh.
Hey.
We don't even have any boots on. It is getting deep in here. Remember what I said about causing green grass?
It's too busy growing out rather than up.
This is true. I've gotten super fat in 2020.
Close, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to level up your tools.
Hey, listen.
Don't do stupid stuff.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you having me on. You guys are great. And appreciate all the support.
Embrace the crazy, like David White interrupting our outros.
And keep it stiff.
All right, guys.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the industry and tool-related news every week.
Visit AnsonPDR.com for the largest selection of just about all your PDR tools, where you'll find hog glue and hog tabs.